Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the ability to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host, Mike Lepre, here with my co-host, Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
Now, this is our second episode in our 7-part prediction series. We are going around to each division around baseball, and we're going to give our final predictions leading up to the 2021 season. This week, we are going to tackle the AL Central. Last week, we did the AL East, so naturally, we're coming across the country here. So, the AL Central, consisting of the Tigers, Royals, Indians, Twins, and White Sox. We're just going to give, like last week, we're going to give our impressions of each team, kind of their prospect pool, and kind of where they're at coming into the season. We are going to reserve our final judgments and records and just overall impressions of the team for the final predictions episode, which will be the 7th episode going live before the 2021 season starts. So let's get right into it, kind of how we did last week, and start with what we think is probably the least competitive team out of the 5 in this division, at least in our opinion. So I thought we would start with the Tigers. The Tigers, their starting lineup consists of Robbie Grossman, Jonathan Scope, Miguel Cabrera, Jeimer Candelario, Wilson Ramos, Nomar Mazara, Renato Nunez, Jacoby Jones, and Willie Castro. Their rotation is rounded out by Matt Boyd, Spencer Turnbull, Michael Fulmer, Julio Teheran, and Jose Urena. So the Tigers overall, I think, are probably... I mean, I did struggle with it a little bit. I know Frank said he did too. With kind of place in this team. Because there is some talent here. And I'd say that a little more talent maybe than they had, in their abysmal... I think it was 2019 that they had a pretty bad season. When we went to see them, of course. So I think they're obviously better than that. I think they got a lot of talent coming. As Frank will get into with the prospects. I think the lineup isn't... I think that they'll sneak up on you. I think that they can sneak some games away, sneak some wins away from pretty good teams. The rotation is subpar. It does the job. Guys like Jose Urena, I think, are going to be good. Michael Fulmer's pretty good. Matt Boyd's okay. Julio Teheran, you never really know what you're getting out of him, honestly. The bullpen's pretty lackluster. There's no real big names. Buck Farmer, Brian Garcia, Daniel Norris are really the ones that you could really even say are household names for Tiger fans. The bench really isn't that deep. You got a big utility guy, Nico Goodrum, but overall the team is not built to win now. There's pitching on the way. They got a big starter that he actually already pitched, I believe. What was it, a first baseman they drafted? It was supposed to be like a really, really big prospect for them. Mm-hmm. So this is a team kind of similar we talked about with the Orioles, and this will probably be the consistent theme with a lot of what we think will be like the second to last place teams, is they got a lot of prospects coming, and I think that the Tigers are a team that really will be pretty damn good in the future, and there are some prospects that I know about already and kind of want to see, one of which being Casey Mize. So with that, I just think that the Tigers are probably going to end up settling last place, if not second to last, and I think that's, for them this year, I think that's kind of what they're more or less expecting. They're not trying to compete with the White Sox or Twins or whoever. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at with them.
Yeah, the Tigers, I actually, I kind of like some of the guys in this team. Matthew Boyd, pretty good pitcher. Young guy, one of their prospects, Tariq Scobel, supposed to be in the rotation this year. Casey Mize, Michael Fulmer, if he can get back to close to what he was a couple years ago, I mean, that's going to be really good for them. Jose Urena, obviously still a pretty good pitcher. Spencer Turnbull, another guy who played pretty well for a little bit, throughout his career so far. A couple more arms. They got Gregory Soto, guy that does pretty hard. Buck Farmer's been around for a while. Joe Jimenez, another one that does really hard. Ronnie Garcia. Can't forget Kyle Funkhauser.
Oh.
Gotta love him. So they got some pitching. There are a lot of young guys, though. So that's the thing with them. If these guys can, be as good as they're supposed to be or get back to what they're supposed to be, they could be, a pretty good pitching team. I mean, Boyd, Scobel, Mize, obviously, Fulmer. I mean, there's some good talent here. You just don't know what you're going to get yet.
Yeah.
And then you got Wilson Ramos, good player, good hitter. Jeimer Candelario, he's a good player. Harold Castro, Nico Goodrum I really like. He's the guy who plays everywhere. He's, pretty good average. Kind of do everything. Jonathan Scope, another one who just plays, another pretty good player. No superstars in the lineup. Isaac Paredes, Willie Castro, what's that? Jacoby Jones?
Yeah, Jacoby Jones.
Jacoby Jones. Very good defensive player. Was supposed to be a pretty good prospect. Never really lived out to all that, but still, a servable player, pretty good. Robbie Grossman's a pretty good piece. They played well with the A's. Christian Stewart, and then you got Miguel Cabrera, who at this point is older, but still, a pretty good hitter in the middle lineup at least. So lineup-wise, I don't got a bunch. For the most part, though, the team's not great, but they have trade pieces. Jonathan Scope, Wilson Ramos. If you want to trade Nico Goodrum, Candelario, Urania, Fulmer, you got a few guys here. Grossman, maybe Miggy, even, who knows? They have some pieces here they could trade away and bring back more prospects. But talk about prospects, they have the guy you were talking about, third base / first baseman, Spencer Tolbelson. He's like the number 4 prospect in all baseball.
Something like that.
Then you have Casey Mize, obviously. Matt Manning, another top pitching prospect. Riley Green, top outfield prospect. And then Tariq Scobel, another pitching prospect. They have a great farm system.
Yeah.
They have, 5 guys in the top 100. 3 of them being pitchers. 1 being either corner infield, and 1 being outfield. So they touch all their bases.
Yep.
And then Nico Goodrum was a guy who could play everywhere. He's still a younger player. Isaac Paredes, another younger player. So they got some young guys in the majors too. So they have a really good farm system. And they have a couple pieces, some veteran players that they could trade away and get more prospects. So I think that this team, definitely with their pitching, they're young, but if they could get their pitching to pitch as good as they're supposed to, or close to what they can be, they could definitely be the, 4th, maybe 3rd place team this year, for sure. I wouldn't expect them to really push a wild card unless there's an expanded playoffs. But they definitely got a good team, and it's going to be here really soon. It's going to be really, really good, and it's going to be here really, really soon. Maybe even as early as next year, you could see them float around 500 maybe next year, and then the year after being the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're really good. They got other prospects, too, that aren't, would be in the top 125, 150, too. But they got 5 in the top 100.
Yeah.
And a couple in the top 25.
Yeah, I know that they're big guys. I forgot about Matt Manning, Casey Mize, and Spencer. What is it, Spencer Torkelson or
Torkelson, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Tariq Scobel, pitcher, who's going to be up. And then you got, like I said, you got other guys who are young. Spencer Turnbull, still somewhat young. Matthew Boyd, very young player. Michael Fulmer, still young.
Yeah.
Jose Urenia's still young. I mean, they got a lot of young players.
Yeah.
So they're going to be good pretty soon, just not quite this year. Maybe not next year. Next year is going to be up in the air, but this year, not so much.
Yeah, and then, you spend a little money, get some free agents, and
You get rid of Miggy's contract. It's not killing you, but, it's a contract that's not really worth anything at this point.
Yeah, and he's not getting any younger, so... Yeah, that's a team I expect to be really good soon.
Just they have a tough division is another big thing you got to worry about.
Yeah.
The Royals are getting good, too. Indians are kind of going backwards. The other 2 teams are ready to go.
Yeah. So, that's true. It'll be a pretty good division soon, hopefully. So the next team we're going to talk about are the Royals, who kind of surprised me with their lineup specifically when I was kind of going through them. So their lineup consists of Whit Merrifield, the newly acquired Andrew Benintendi, Carlos Santana, Jorge Soler, Salvador Perez, Hunter Dozier, Adalberto Mondesi, Nicky Lopez, and Michael A. Taylor. And then the rotation is Danny Duffy, Brad Keller, Mike Minor, Chris Bubick, and Brady Singer. Then you got guys in the bullpen like Josh Stumont, Wade Davis, Greg Holland. So, I mean, the Royals, I do think, are a little bit ahead, maybe, of the Tigers as far as, like, the team this year. Obviously, another team that's kind of looking forward. Their prospects, they got pretty good prospects out there. Their lineup right now, I think, is a little bit more of a strength for them than the Tigers. I think that you got really good speed with Whit Merrifield and Mondesi. Mondesi's even got some pop he can show sometimes. Carlos Santana's got pop. Jorge Soler had a really good comeback year. If he keeps that up, they've got a really good 4-hitter there. Salvador Perez, one of the better catchers in baseball. So, lineup-wise, I think that they're in good shape. And honestly, if Andrew Benintendi has any sort of, if he performs any sort of percentage of what they he was supposed to be. He was a number one prospect.
If he could play a little bit better than like Jason Bay with the Mets, you got something out of him.
Yeah. So I mean, so you got something there. He is still young. I believe he's only been in the league
24?
for. Yeah, I was gonna say he's only been in the league for 3 or 4 years, if that.
And he's won, so he knows how the playoffs work.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So I mean, he's a good addition, I thought, to the team. And so yeah, I think the lineup's a strength. The rotation's okay. That's needs a little bit of work, especially the bottom end of it. Mike Minor's good. Danny Duffy I always thought was good. Brad Keller's pretty good. And then the bullpen, you back into the bullpen, has got some heat, but Wade Davis you got to keep an eye out for. Greg Holland, what do you get out of him? Josh, I think that's how you say his name, Stumont or Stalmont. I think he's pretty good. I think he's probably your most consistent bet here in the bullpen. You don't know because you don't know what you get out of Wade Davis, Greg Holland. Ceiling wise, Wade Davis and Greg Holland could be your best guys, but you just don't know. And then on the bench, you got guys like Hanser Alberto, Ryan O'Hearn, Bubba Starling. These guys that'll fill in roles and do their job and have some pop, and especially in Ryan O'Hearn's case. But overall, I see this being a team that's I see a lot of similarities to the Tigers here. I think they are right now a little better, but I don't. Maybe high end could be a third place team. If the next team we're going to talk about kind of decides to tank it a little. I could definitely see the Royals just kind of being a mid to high 70 win team, so that's kind of where I see them right now as far as their talent, especially like I said in the lineup. But they're another team like I've been saying, like the Tigers, who the future is coming, and the future I think is bright for a team like this with the Royals.
Yeah. The Royals got they got some talent. They got some major league talent, a little bit more than the Tigers. Tigers don't quite got that proven veteran major league talent. The Royals do. Mm-hmm. But both teams are pretty similar. Danny Duffy, pitching wise, I always like Danny Duffy. I thought he's always a pretty good pitcher. He has struggled a little bit recently, but he's shown he can be pretty good. Mm-hmm. Brad Keller, Mike Minor, Brady Singer, Chris Bubick. Last time I seen a guy's name spelled Chris like that in baseball was Chris Medlin. He had unbelievable that 1 year. Mm-hmm. But I had seen that too. The first thing I seen that guy's name, I'm like, oh, here we go, Chris Medlin. The rotation's very young, nothing real crazy. Danny Duffy get back to closer to what he was. That's obviously a good top. And Mike Minor, we've seen him pitch pretty well recently, and I think it was 2 years ago. He was in the Cy Young candidate for the first half of the year. So that's a guy who's got some good talent still. And then you got Greg Holland, Jesse Hahn, who's been around for a while now, Jacob Junis, pretty good player. Then you got Scott Blewett out there. Not the greatest relief name to have. They got some young pitching. It's pretty much where they're at. The pitching's really doesn't really strike you. Not quite as much potential as the Tigers. Tigers have a lot of potential pitching-wise, but not really a bunch of veteran talent in the lineup. While the Royals have not so great pitching, but they have a lot better veteran talent in the lineup.
Yeah. And
that starts with Salvador Perez, Carlos Santana, Hunter Dozier, Whit Merrifield, Nicky Lopez, who's a younger player who can run a little bit, middle infielder, Mondesi, Benintendi they traded for, Michael Taylor, Jorge Soler, Ryan O'Hearn, Ryan McBroom. I mean, these guys are all young.
Oh, yeah.
But they have a bunch of guys here to start off. Salvador Perez, Carlos Santana, those are guys you could definitely, maybe not Salvador Perez, but Carlos Santana, definitely a guy who plays well, you trade him. That's just how it goes. Holland in the bullpen. He said Wade Davis in the bullpen. Guys who they play well, you can trade them. Hunter Dozier, he's still young, but still, he's a guy where do you see a huge future for him with your team by the time you're ready to go? Maybe not. You trade him away. Michael Taylor, he's a young guy, good potential still. Trade him away. I mean, there's some pieces here where they can go trade away and build up the farm system more. And go into their farm system. I mean, they got prospects like Bobby Witt Jr., shortstop, pitcher Asa Lacy, another pitcher Daniel Lynch, another pitcher Jackson Kowar, I believe it is. They got a pretty good farm system.
Yeah.
I don't think they're quite as good as the Tigers, but I would say they're definitely top 10 farm system, and maybe right around 5. So they got a good farm system, and they got young talent on the majors, and they have a little bit more veteran talent they could trade away for more pieces.
Yeah.
But for this year, the team's just decent at best. They're going to be around 70 wins, like you said, just because they have some proven talent. But you never know. Some of the young guys produce, and they click a little bit. Maybe they push around 500. But for the most part, they're going to be towards the bottom of the AL Central. But with some trade pieces and a pretty good farm system. So they're another team that's going to be in pretty good shape here, I think, somewhat soon.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about what is it, Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about him. He's been higher up on the prospect list that I've seen for the last season, 2 seasons, 3 seasons. I don't know how long he's been up there, but
And then, I mean, look, you got Mondesi, young guy. Benintendi, young guy. Nicky Lopez, a young guy. Hunter Dozier, somewhat young. Then you have, Danny Duffy, who's a more proven player, but you could trade him away. Minor, you could trade away. Holland, you could trade away. Royce Lewis, pretty young player. Michael Taylor, pretty young player. I mean, Whit Merrifield, you could trade away. So they got good young talent, and they also got some pieces who they play well. You could trade or just keep, and hopefully they're good in a year or two when you guys are more ready to compete.
yeah, that's they're looking good. I think in Kansas City they can get back to kind of where they were in 2015, that area when they had really that core team that carried them to the World Series. So a lot to be excited about if you're a Kansas City fan. The next team we're going to talk about is the Indians. Their lineup consists of Cesar Hernandez, Jose Ramirez, Eddie Rosario, Franmil Reyes, Josh Naylor, Roberto Perez, Andres Gimenez, Oscar Mercado, and Daniel Johnson. Their rotation consists of Shane Bieber, Zach Plesac, Aaron Savali, Tristan McKenzie, and Logan Allen. Again, just another step up in talent, I think, here with the Indians. I think that the lineup is pretty good. I think that Jose Ramirez, when he's swinging the bat well, is probably one of the best hitters in baseball. Cesar Hernandez, I think, a very underrated player. He's really good, especially at that top spot in the lineup. Got a guy like Franmil Reyes who just mashes the ball. That's his job. That's what he does. Eddie Rosario is a pretty good pickup for them. Josh Naylor, high expectations, I guess, after that series he had against the Yankees in the playoffs. So if he produces at a pretty high clip, then fans will like him a lot. He's got a lot of energy. Roberto Perez, solid behind the plate. Andres Gimenez was picked up from that Francisco Lindor trade, so I guess he's the shortstop, or he's projected to be the shortstop. But they do also have Ahmed Rosario, so whatever works out. Oscar Mercado is a good player. You got guys like Ben Gamel, and Jordan Luplow are good. So the Indians are kind of I don't know if they're necessarily that playoff team that we saw get to the ALDS last year. The rotation obviously still got Shane Bieber. Is he going to have quite the season that he did last year? Probably not. I think he's still going to be great. I think he's still an ace. It's just, is he that? Probably not. Zach Plesac's a good pitcher. Tristan McKenzie, I believe, has a pretty high ceiling. People have talked really highly of him. Aaron Savali is pretty good. He's a good 3-4 guy. Logan Allen, I'm not too familiar with, but I heard he's pretty good. Out of the bullpen, you got guys like James Karinchak, who's got a pretty damn good fastball. He's supposed to be pretty good. Nick Whitgren is in the back end of the bullpen. He's pretty good. Phil Matone, Emmanuel Clace or Classy. These guys are there. They're not your all-stars. They're not your Brad Hands, your Aroldis Chapman. They're not the big name guys, but they do a good job. So overall, like I said, I think that the bar is getting stepped up here from the Royals and Tigers for sure. I think that the Indians have talent, and if they perform at the level that they can, I think you could maybe see a sneaking wild card team here. But I suspect, especially with the indication from the Francisco Lindor trade, and then Clevenger was out of there and stuff like that, there's just indicators to me that they're going to end up selling. And I don't know why they didn't just go all in on it. They're still kind of in that middle space. They almost want to be competitive and maybe do that half rebuild thing where they stay, they keep fans in the stands. They don't completely tank it. So if that's the case and they're not going to completely tank it and they're going to kind of stay somewhat competitive, I could see them, hanging around the middle of the division, maybe lower end of the division if the Royals play really well. So overall, the Indians aren't a team that I think is going to compete for the division, considering the team that I think is going to be at the top of the division. But I could see a sneaking wildcard team in here. They did make the playoffs last year, albeit with expanded playoffs, but they did make it. So there is something there. They got talent, and 162 game season or whatever we end up getting, you just never know what's going to happen. So if the team decides, hey, at the trade deadline, this team's really not doing it, let's just blow it up and see what happens. So I think the Indians are kind of up in the air, and I think we kind of talked about that last season and coming into 2020. They're kind of up in the air. So I don't think that their position for me personally has changed much. I think they're, after getting rid of Lindor, they made the move. Either continue and do it, or what are you doing? So that's kind of my opinion. I think is kind of the same as it was last year. They're still in the same spot.
Yeah, the Indians, they got some talent, like you mentioned, Shane Bieber, Zach Plesac, Aaron Savelli, Logan Allen's supposed to be pretty good. Tristan McKenzie's going to be really good.
Yeah.
So the starting rotation's pretty good. There's, one guy who's going to be a kind of an anchor. Another guy who's been pretty good. Then you got a couple guys who have some potential. Especially Logan Allen could be higher end rotation. Tristan McKenzie could be an ace. Out in the bullpen, you got Oliver Perez, Zach Pleco, Manuel Clace, Cal Quantrill. So their bullpen's okay. Nothing great. No one really hammering down the end of the game. But they got some decent pitching. Lineup wise, Roberto Perez, kind of know what you're getting out of him. Low average, good power. Austin Hedges still has a little bit of potential. A pretty good catcher. Bobby Bradley, Jake Bowers, Cesar Hernandez is really you could pretty much mark him at 280 every year, top or bottom of the lineup, wherever you want him. Steal some bases. He's a really good player. My Rosario kind of stepped into his own last year a little bit, so if he can continue building, that's a good piece for them. Andres Jimenez, another guy who can kind of stepped up a little bit last year. So he can kind of show that he could continue growing. He could be a pretty good piece for them. Jose Ramirez, he's top 15, top 20 player in baseball. When he's hot, he's one of the best players you're ever going to see. When he's cold, he's awful.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. Josh Naylor, another guy, younger guy who's got some good potential, good pop. Oscar Mercado, Bradley Zimmer coming back.
Yep.
Jordan Leplo, and then Franmil Reyes, who can just smash the ball forever.
Yeah.
But they still have no outfield, really. Their outfield's not very good. Mercado and Bradley Zimmer, if they split them up, play them in different positions, that helps them a little bit. But their outfield's not that strong, which hasn't been strong for years. Their lineup's really not all that strong anymore. They're definitely tearing this team apart. But I don't see them being that good just because I think they see the writing on the writing on the wall. And some teams they say, hey, we can still play good, and they will play good. But a lot of teams will see that and go, well, all of a sudden they kind of start falling apart. And Francona's got his own health issues as it is, so he could even walk away. So the team's kind of falling apart. Do they step up and go, why not us? Or do they just kind of see the writing on the wall and just kind of start fading away and they break it apart? And you get blame the Indians, really, because there's no reason they couldn't keep some of these guys around and keep paying these guys and have a good team. So, there's no real reason for really any team not to pay players and keep teams. There's really no reason for it. Every team's making money. But especially with the Indians, how good they were. And like you said, if you're going to rebuild.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck in the middle, kind of like the Diamondbacks is our always go-to, because they just always sit in the middle and they don't really seem to rebuild or go forward or anything. Yeah, they got some talent. They got a decent team. Not too bad, but they're decent. The big thing is they have a lot of trade pieces yet. Some arms, if they want to trade Plesac or you want to trade Oliver Perez or Quantrill, you could trade those. You could trade Cesar Hernandez. I wouldn't say Rosario, maybe not, but Jose Ramirez, if you really want to go all out, you could trade him. You got some guys here that you can really get a good return for. So Franmil Reyes, he could smash the ball, so you can definitely get a return for him. So they got some players here that if they want to start trading away, they can do that. Already their prospects-wise, they got third baseman Nolan Jones, shortstop Tyler Freeman, which you always got to have a good shortstop. That's a revolution. McKenzie, which we mentioned, is going to be really, really good. And a big thing for them is Bo Naylor, a catcher. That's always a good thing to have a good catcher prospect. He's like just outside the top 100, but the first three guys are top 100 guys. So they're a decent farm system. They're probably in the middle somewhere. 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there. So they're not bad, but they obviously can get a lot better, especially with a trade or two with some of their higher end guys like Jose Ramirez. So they're stuck in the middle prospect wise. They're stuck in the middle division wise. They're stuck in the middle talent wise. So I don't know where they're going to go. It is a shame that they destroyed this team for money, but you say that about every team. You can say the same thing about the Royals. Every team has money. Some teams have a little bit more, but everyone has money to kind of keep the core together. There's no reason you can't pay 3-4 guys. You only pay one guy. That's silly. So, but the Indians are there, so we'll see what they do. But okay team, pretty decent farm system, but they definitely could be big players in the rest of the season for other teams if they start trading.
Yeah, sure. That's kind of where I see them going, is trade deadline sellers. I just don't see why or how they would get to the trade deadline and be like, well, we're buyers, we're going to be in it. I just don't. It just seems silly to me. So
unless you're buying controllable players.
Yeah.
Young controllable players, which I don't see them doing.
Yeah, I just don't know if their prospect pool is quite good enough to be like the Tigers and the Royals, where they're like, all right, well, the future is coming. It's kind of here. The Indians aren't quite there, but they do have some good names, like you said, like Nolan Jones and guys like that. So, was it Bo Naylor was the catcher or whatever that you said?
He's like just outside top 100. I would say he's probably maybe top 125 or at least top 150.
Yeah, so I mean they got guys, but it's just like I said, and I've been saying for the last year with them, like, what are you doing? Decide, because if you do end up just going with the rebuild, you'll be better for it. So I don't know what you're doing here. So, but they still have talent, and I do recognize that they got guys like Bieber and Jose Ramirez that can carry a team if they're hot, and you never know. Like I said, I don't think they'll be a division or a World Series contender or nothing like that, but you never know if they have a nice season, and you just never know. So the next team we're going to talk about is the Twins. Their lineup consists of Max Kepler, Luis Arias, Josh Donaldson, Nelson Cruz, Miguel Sano, Alex Kirilloff, Byron Buxton, Ryan Jeffers, and Andrelton Simmons. Their rotation consists of Jose Barrios, Kenta Maeda, Michael Pineda, J.A. Happ, and Matt Shoemaker. This is the team that I've seen a lot projected to have the best talent in the AL Central, and I don't really know why. After looking at their lineup and their rotation and bullpen and bench, while I do agree that they have a lot more talent than some of the other teams that we already talked about, their lineup has been really good for a while now. But I do think they took a little bit of a hit in the offseason. Their lineup isn't quite what it was with hitting God knows how many home runs they did to break the record. I don't think they're quite there. Don't get me wrong, you still got Nelson Cruz in the middle of the lineup, Josh Donaldson, you got Max Kepler at the top, you got Miguel Sano, Byron Buxton, Andrelton Simmons. These are good. These are really good guys. This is a really good team to have. Good defense. If you had Andrelton Simmons last year, you probably would have won. You could have won that series. So, that at least is a plus right there. And then you look at the rotation. You got Jose Barrios is usually pretty consistent, pretty good. He could go one day where he pitches 9 innings and strikes out 11, and then the next day he'll come out and give up 5 in the first inning. He just, he's kind of weird. He's got a lot of talent, but he doesn't have that consistency. Maeda had a really good year last year, but I don't know if he can keep that up because he's kind of been a good pitcher. I don't know if he could be like the guy in that rotation. I think he will be. If he's your number 2, number 3 guy, I think that's pretty good. Pineda, again, another guy that I just don't think is like going to blow you away. I think he's still pretty good, but there's nothing. He's not going to scare you if you're in a playoff series, really. Same thing with J.A. Happ, a guy that at this point is a little older, going to be a nice veteran guy to around the younger guys in the bullpen and the rotation and stuff like that in the clubhouse. So I think for that he's good. He'll produce pretty good 3.4 ERA. He's used to pitching against good offensive teams. He pitched a lot in the AL East. And then Matt Shoemaker is pretty good. He kind of rounds out the rotation nicely. He's usually a 4th, 5th guy, maybe 3rd on a rough team. Then in the bullpen, you got guys like Taylor Rogers, Alex Colomé, great pickup, and Tyler Duffy. So the bullpen, your back end is looking okay. You can at least get to the 8th and know that you might have the game in hand, which is more to say than some of their previous teams. So I think bullpen-wise, they made a big improvement with getting Colomé. And then you got guys like Jorge Polanco and Mitch Garver and Jay Cave, who are still really good. They could give you, big numbers, in the lineup, big homers and stuff like that. I'm honestly surprised that Mitch Garver isn't listed as the projected starting catcher, but that's just Roto Champ. So, and then I also have listed here on the bench because they listed him on the bench. I wanted to just put him on here anyway. Royce Lewis, who I've heard a lot about. As a prospect coming up. I guess he is going to make the roster this year, or they project him to. So that's another guy to consider in the a middle infield guy. I believe he's a shortstop. So overall, I think that the rotation's good. I'd say probably better than overall than the bottom 2 teams you talked about, and potentially better than the Indians if the guys do pitch. Like if Maeda pitches like he could, Barrios pitches good, Happ pitches. Happ is a guy that can get on a roll. You can get him out of that, and Pineda, same thing. Bullpen-wise, I think they are a little better than the Indians, so I give them the plus there. And lineup-wise, they just hit a lot of home runs, and although that seems to be where baseball is going with the advanced metrics and stuff like that, they want the big ball. They don't want the stolen bases. They don't want the bunts. They don't, So this team, I guess, is primed and ready for a 2021 analytical baseball, push forward we're getting here. But I just don't. I'm not sold on this team. Maybe it's just me. I know a lot of projectors have them pretty high. I'm just not sold that they're the most talented team in this division. So that's kind of where I am with them. A lot of talent, though. I think that they have a really good shot at least making a wild card and could push for the division if they play really well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, the Twins got Jose Barrios, Kenta Maeda, Michael Pineda coming back. He didn't play all last year because of suspension. Jay Happ, Matt Shoemaker, as you mentioned, and Randy Dubnak, who could be both starting or reliever. I mean, Maeda, I think really he's middle rotation guy. Last year he was way above. He was in the Cy Young candidate, but I don't think he really is that. Jose Barrios could be a Cy Young candidate. But yeah, like you said, he's kind of a sinker ball, change-up guy. So when that's not going well, he gets beat up. But he'll always kind of go his 5 innings.
yeah,
I always compare him to Luis Castillo. Same type of pitcher. You can see the same thing where his numbers get inflated a couple starts because his ball's just not dropping like it's supposed to. Pineda, he's a sinker ball guy. He's a middle rotation guy. Jay Happ at the end of the rotation, maybe in the bullpen if he finally decides to do that. He kind of been against being in the bullpen, but they could figure that out.
Yeah.
Matt Shoemaker's a good pickup. If he can get back to close to what he could do, I mean, he could be towards the top of the rotation because he's really got some potential. Randy Dubnak, he's a good pitcher. Bullpen, relief, starter, long relief, whatever you want to do with him, he could do it. So that's good for them. Their biggest thing is they did help their pitching a little bit, especially in the bullpen. Alex Colomé is a great pickup.
Yeah.
He's a great pickup. And from a division rival.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great pickup. Taylor Rogers is good. Tyler Duffy is good. Hansel Robles they got, who's been pitching really well in the bullpen. So their bullpen's pretty good now. A lot better. The starting rotation is not bad. A little bit better than it's been. Lineup-wise, that definitely took a little bit of a hit. Mitch Garver, not quite the player he was 2 years ago. He had that 1 year. You kind of expect him around 200 with some power. Astudillo, La Tortuga, or Tortuga, whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah,
He's
the turtle.
He's crazy. You don't know what you're getting out of him. He can play everywhere. But he's not a bad player. I mean, he swings at every pitch. But I also know, you could pencil in him at, 240 and 30-something home runs. Okay. Jorge Polanco's not a bad player. They're pretty good. Luis Arias is a really good player. Really high average base hit guy. Something they don't really have much of. He's a really good guy. He's a really good player. Big piece to them. Donaldson, he's always hurt. Let's just get that right out. He's always hurt. He's always got some sort of calf injury, shoulder injury. He's always got something. When he's on the field, he's pretty good. But he's a hot and cold player. He's pretty good. He's still a very good player. But he's just got to be on the field more and whatnot. Sure. Simmons, fantastic defensively. Offensively, he's gotten a lot better. More consistent, I should say. Nick Gordon, who was a prospect of this, he's expected to be on the team at some point. Jake Cave, like you mentioned. Buxton's always hurt. Another guy who's literally always hurt. When he's on the field, he's been a lot better recently offensively.
Oh, yeah.
So if he could continue his growth and stay on the field, that's a big piece for them. And Max Kepler seems to be, he always comes up at a big spot and produces well. And then you got Nelson Cruz. My thing with them is, yes, they rely on the home run. Yes, their defense got, I think, a little bit better. Their offense maybe got a hair worse. Their pitching got better. Nelson Cruz is 98 years old, whatever he is.
Yeah.
He's eventually going to start going down. Donaldson's getting older with injuries already. He's going to eventually start going down. Buxton, he's very young, but he's getting hurt all the time. So when does his speed and stuff take an effect? That's what you got to look at. So no, a lot of power. Also, the idea of baseball, they said they're trying to deaden the ball a little bit this year. If you start trying to take home runs away from a team who hits home runs, does that affect them? With the division getting better, does that affect them? So that's what you got to look at with them. So they're definitely going to have to fight that. But they did make good adjustments in the offseason, especially with the bullpen. Especially that bullpen with Alex Colomé was a great pickup, one of the best pickups of the offseason. But they got a good team. I wouldn't say they're great. If they play well, if they all kind of play how they're supposed to, yeah, they could be a great team. But you're looking at them, they're good. They're very good. They're definitely over 500. Definitely in the playoff race. And they could push for a division. They play, a couple guys play over what they're supposed to or whatnot, they're definitely winning the division. And then prospects-wise, Royce Lewis, shortstop, he's supposed to be really good. You'll see him this year at some point. Outfield/first base, Alex Kurlioff. I think we've seen him last year. Then he was the only guy who never played at all and then played in the playoffs, his first at-bat.
He's actually listed here as one of the starting outfielders. So.
Yeah. And he's one of the higher prospects. And I think his first at-bat was in the playoffs last year. He was the only first player in 100 years, something like that.
I think you're right.
Another prospect outfield, Trevor Lenock. Pitcher Jordan Balzovic. So they got some prospects here. I think 2 or 3 of them. I think maybe all 4 of those guys are top 100.
Okay.
I know at least 3 of them are top 100. So they got a pretty good farm system. I would say maybe bottom end of the top 10, maybe, or early on 12, 13, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So they got a pretty good farm system. They got a good team on paper. You look at them, they got a pretty good team. So they'll be in the playoff race. They could definitely push for the division, but definitely in the playoff race in the wild card. And should push. Just they got to deaden the ball, the home runs. Does that affect them? Does their pitching, did the moves make, is that going to help them? Is the offense going to be affected? And then, does that playoff thing, does that hang over their head? It doesn't seem like it has been in the regular season, but does it? It could. So we'll see. But they got a good team, and they'll be, in playoff contention and possibly win that division.
Yeah, they're a good team. I'm not going to take that away from them. I just, like I said, I just don't think that they are the most talented team in the division anymore. You could definitely say that 2 years ago, even maybe last year. I think that title has been moved to another team, which is, as if you haven't already figured out, it's the White Sox.
Yeah, and one last thing with the Twins too. The thing that people really want to give them is they're a little bit more proven talent.
Yeah, that's true.
Your team's kind of like,
true.
okay, we kind of seen these guys. While the next team we talk about, the White Sox, a lot of guys who are still yet to really prove it or fully prove it for a whole year or something. So they can go, okay, there's still a couple question marks, new coach. While the Twins are like, this is all kind of the same. You got a lot of guys who are kind of like, all right, we kind of know what we're getting out of them.
Yeah, that's true.
So they could play a little better, they could play a little worse, but you kind of got an idea. While young guys, it's hard to really peg them at what they're going to do. So that's the one thing the Twins got, where they can be, okay, we kind of have consistency right now. But we know what we're going to get. While White Sox and some of these other teams are like, all right, well, where are we? What are we going to get out of him?
Yeah.
Is he going to bat 300? Is he going to bat 220? Or is he going to be hurt again? Or we don't really know.
That's true.
So that's the one thing that Twins have, which is consistency, which is always great for any team.
Yeah. And they get to the playoffs and lose for some reason. They
consistency. It's
yeah,
all you ask
for. They got to get that off their back. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
And they didn't even play the Yankees last year. There's no excuse.
If they could do that, you don't know. Maybe that carries them that year or the next year, like the A's. Finally won playoff last year. That's exciting. Now they got that off their back. All right, cool. Remember this year we just go get to the playoffs and just roll.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll get into that. But that's the same concept with the Twins. It's like, all right, if we could just get this off of us, then maybe we just all breathe a little bit and all play a little bit of baseball.
Yeah.
But home runs is hard to carry into the offseason or into the postseason. You really got to just base hits, run the bases, play good defense, while the Rays played very well in the postseason.
Yeah.
You got to be able to do that, not just smash the ball 700 feet, especially if they're going to deaden the ball a little bit. Not a bunch, but deaden the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
That's definitely going to hurt these guys who just swing straight up for the fences.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. They did finally admit to quote unquote juicing the ball, so they're almost like retracting that. They're almost like, well, let's fix the ball again, make it not so juiced.
They'll come back. They'll mess it up.
Oh yeah,
the lead leader will have like 7 home runs.
Yeah, we'll be back in the dead ball era.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said before, the last team we want to talk about is the White Sox. Their lineup is consisting of Tim Anderson, Adam Eaton, Yasmani Grandal, Jose Abreu, Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada, Luis Robert, Adam Engel, and Nick Madrigal. Their rotation consists of Lucas Giolito, Dallas Keuchel, Lance Lynn, Dylan Cease, and Carlos Rodon. Now this team, I think, has all the talent. They're ready to go.
Mike loves
and I love the White Sox. I really do. I didn't even question in my mind that this team was going to be number one. And I think that a lot that has to do with it, and I haven't mentioned it with the other teams, is Tony La Russa. I think that guy, there is the question, he is a little bit older, he's more old school, and this is a young, up-and-coming team.
Their big thing with that, everyone's going to think it. Tim Anderson said today, he talked to La Russa, he said they're on the same page, 110% behind him. That guy's one of the leaders in flipping the bat and flashy a little bit. So if you can get him behind La Russa, and they could both adapt, maybe him quiet down a hair, or maybe in La Russa, maybe easing up a little bit, that's a dangerous combo. Because that man knows baseball more than just about anybody. He's top 5, knowledge of the game that we have. So if he could, control his ability and adapt, and the players could adapt the hair, man, they're going to be really tough to beat.
Yeah, Adam Eaton made a statement today saying that they had their first clubhouse meeting, quote unquote, where the whole team got together and Tony La Russa kind of spoke to them all for the first time, and he said you could hear a pin drop. It seemed like everyone had the utmost respect for someone like that who's been winning in the major leagues for how long now.
And I'm sure he addressed his offseason issue too.
Oh yeah,
which is a you could use that as an example. Like we all make errors and whatever, and go about our business. But he's gonna, if he can keep that room, control that room, and they can listen to him and he'll listen to them.
Yeah,
that's a great team.
Yeah, that's where I think that they are separated. I do think that they have the most talent, but I do think there is a big separator there with the manager, because there's not many managers alive like Tony La Russa. Let's be honest. So to have him,
Buck Showalter, and I don't know why the teams don't want him.
I don't understand that either. He would whip really any team into shape.
I think maybe he wouldn't adapt quite as much as maybe La Russa.
No, yeah, I think Buck Showalter is a little bit harder headed, but he does. I mean, he got those Orioles behind him.
And he probably knows the game more than anybody.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe ever.
Yeah,
he's like, oh man, that's page 382, line 17. That's the rule right there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he knows it better than the umpires.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah,
La Russa's gonna be great to see again.
Yeah, so that's why I do think that, first of all, let's look at the lineup. You got Tim Anderson, who for the last 2 years has batted like 330. If he's kind of swings it, not quite like 330, but if he swings it, he's a 300 average guy. You got a good leadoff shortstop leader guy. Adam Eaton. Adam Eaton's a good clubhouse guy. He's still got a lot of talent, still got some speed. He'll be great in the outfield. Yasmani Grandal, you got a nice switch hitting catcher there. He'll have some play some DH if needed be. Jose Abreu was just an RBI machine. Everyone that batted before him, if they're on base, they're coming in. Eloy Jimenez is a pretty good outfielder, great hitter. It looks like he might share some DH time as well. Yoan Moncada, another great hitter. And then right behind him, Luis Robert, who we think really highly of. And he's batting seventh. So, when you got him down there, you got a good lineup. Adam Engel, not quite, I would say, the hitter that all these other guys are, but is going to fill out nicely in the outfield. Probably fill out a little defense. I know Luis Robert is good
defensively, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's why he's going to be out there.
He's like a young Adam Eaton. I kind of feel like he's Adam Eaton was a little bit different, but it's the same kind of smaller guy, So he's a pretty good player.
That's why I always kind of thought of, honestly.
He's been there for a while too now.
Yeah.
So he kind of been through the up and down, which is good to have those guys.
Yeah, instead of having a whole new, you got to have a guy that kind of knows the team and knows the organization and stuff.
Knows how it is to be bad, knows how it is to be good. So.
Yeah. And then to round out the lineup, you got Nick Madrigal, who is an up-and-coming, speedy, defensive. It kind of like a Jose Altuve type.
He played great last year.
Yeah, he did.
He had that injury. What was he batting, like 340?
Something like that,
he got shoulder surgery. They said he's fully recovered from now, which is great news.
Yeah, and that's kind of what they expect out of this guy, is to be that contact, stolen base, good defense. He's going to be awesome.
He can fly.
Yeah, he's going to be great. So to have him as your 9 guy, and then imagine the lineup. You got Luis Robert batting, you got Adam Engel, then you got to deal with Nick Madrigal, and then the top of the lineup comes with Tim Anderson. That's pretty sick, in my opinion. And then the rotation, I do think the rotation isn't quite as good as what their lineup is. You got Giolito at the top. You're getting out of him. He's going to be good. He's going to probably be just about your ace. Keuchel isn't quite that Cy Young guy anymore, I don't think, but I guess he could still have it in him.
He pitched great last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think he's going to be good. Like I said, I don't know if he's quite Cy Young guy, like ace number 1 guy, but he's going to be a good number 2. Lance Lynn, if he pitches like he did last year, man, he's going to be really good as your 3 guy or 2 guy or wherever they slot him in the rotation. And that's, asking a lot for him to be like the guy. I still think Lance Lynn's going to be good. Dylan Cease supposed to be really good. I think that he's going to pitch well towards the bottom of the rotation, a little less pressure. I think he'll be fine. And Carlos Rodon, I think that he's got a lot more to give to the team. I think that he hasn't quite hit his stride yet, and I think that he's going to pitch really well. And then, in the bullpen, you pick up Liam Hendricks. If he pitches like he did with the A's, there's your closer. Bang. There's your shutdown closer. And then you got Aaron Bummer right behind him, who's fantastic.
He can bring it.
Yeah, he throws hard. Yeah. So you got 8-9 is pretty much covered there if Liam Hendricks pitches like he does. You got a guy like Evan Marshall, who's a little lesser known name, who actually has a pretty good ERA usually. And then, he has him listed. They have him listed in the bullpen, but I think he's a potential rotation candidate is Michael Kopeck, who
who couldn't bring it.
Yeah, he brings it, and he's had a little bit of trouble with his arm. He sat out last season, all that stuff. So a little trepidation, I guess, with him. Maybe they're not projecting him highly in the rotation or bullpen or anything, but he's good. Michael Kopeck, I do think is good. And maybe the biggest minus I could give to this team is maybe depth on the bench. You got Lurie Garcia, Zach Collins, and Jonathan Lucroy I have written down here. Bench isn't quite the depth that you would want, but if that's your only minus in my eyes, I think that you're in good shape. You could always at the trade deadline pick up some pieces. So I think the White Sox are the most talented team in this division. I've always thought that. They're really not given a lot of credit in projections for some reason. I don't know why. Because I feel like...
I think it's just not proven talent.
Yeah,
and
that's
a new
true.
Coach. They got a couple of question marks, but, I mean, looking at him, this guy, I kind of know... I know what I should expect from him, but you don't know what you're going to expect from him because you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that does play into it, but I don't know. It's just... It's weird. Didn't they have, 7 guys in the top 100, right up there with the Mets and Yankees and, those teams? I mean, it just... even on RotoChamp, they had them projected a little above 500. It's to me, that's just ridiculous. I think this team is insanely talented. I even had them going just about to the World Series last year. That's how good I thought of them. I thought very highly.
They didn't get worse.
No, they didn't. They surely didn't. They added Liam Hendricks.
They added Tony La Russa. Let's just get right down to it.
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying anything bad about Renteria, the former coach, but I kind of said last year, he's not bad.
Yeah.
But, this guy's he's a game changer, La Russa.
Yeah, he really is.
He was. So this team, I mean, they're great.
Mm.
That's where I got them. If you wanted to use one word, great. Giolito, fantastic pitcher. Finally, fantastic too. You got to give him his credit. He battled through a lot of nonsense throughout his early part of his career to get, top prospect, then just beat up and then bounce back, and he was, he's been good.
Yeah.
Lance Lynn, first half, he was always be a first half pitcher with the Cardinals. God, was he always good in the first half? Second half, he was what? He wouldn't pitch that great. First half, always good, but he's been a good pitcher. Dallas Keuchel, you kind of know what you're getting out of him now.
Yeah.
He's consistent at it. He'll have at least a 3 ERA, mid-3 ERA, good veteran, and a good postseason pitcher, which is very good to have. Carlos Rodon I love, so I'll get right down to it. I think he's got one of the best sliders in baseball. He's always got an arm injury. He's always never really fully healthy going into the spring training, which always hurt him. Now he's going to be fully healthy. Maybe he's dropped a little bit of the prospect level. A lot of other players on the team. Now he can just focus on being good and being towards the bottom of the rotation. He's really good. I'm telling you, he's really, really got potential. Mm-hmm. He's really good. I like him a lot. So, and when they released him just to sign him back, when he got released, I was like, Yankees, get him. Lefty pitcher, potential, great. Go get him. They didn't get him, obviously. The White Sox brought him right back. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Dylan Cease, another guy, good pitcher, young guy. Ronaldo Lopez, who had some good potential, but has not pitched well recent. But he's still got potential, and you can put him in the bullpen. So then you go into the bullpen. You got Liam Hendricks. You're getting out of him. Boom. He's pretty much scratch straight off from Alex Colomé. They're pretty much similar pitchers. Both could be really good. Both could be pretty good, but they're similar. Jace Fry, another good lefty. Good pitcher. No one really talks about. Aaron Bummer, fantastic. We just talked about him. He brings it from the left side. He's just great. He's a guy who a lot of people are going to have on MLB show team. Yeah. Lefty pitcher throws hard. Put him in the bullpen. He'll probably be, high silver gold for a while.
Gotta be.
Yeah. I'm going to have him for at least a little while. Mm-hmm. He's really good. Evan Marshall, run-of-the-mill guy no one talks about. Just has good years and good years and good years. You could put him later in the bullpen. You could put him in the middle relief. But he's just, guys you need. Then you got into the to the lineup. Yasmani Grandal, great catcher. But, I would say maybe not great catcher, but very good. And good overall. He could play defense, switch hitter. He could play first base. He's just good. He could be great, but he's at least very good. And you need a good catcher. When you have a good catcher, it kind of sets the whole team up. And when you have a good catcher, it's like having a good offensive line or a good defensive line in football. You get that, and you're all right, we're good there. Now let's go. Because he's going to help the pitching. He's going to help the defense. He's a great leader.
That's true.
Next guy, Nick Madrigal. He's fantastic. If he plays just near what he played in his short period last year, he batted like 340. And this guy can fly. And one thing you got to watch with these guys, or we have seen these guys, they're really fast. They don't hit. They don't get on base. It doesn't matter. Look at Billy Hamilton. He bats 100. I don't care if he runs a 2-second 40-yard dash. He's, he was on base 100% of the time, or 100 points out of 1,000. What's he good for? Nick Madrigal, I don't think he's going to be that. He'll be that at least 270, 280 hitter. At least with that speed, 50, 60, 70 stolen bases this guy can get. Larry Garcia, a backup guy, he just plays well. It's a good little piece to have. He's been there for a little while. Moncada, obviously, we all know him. He was a high prospect. He could bring it. He could really bring the talent. Defensively, offensively, switch hitter, a little bit of flash in his game. He's very good player. He's just got to be more consistent.
Yeah.
We've seen him strike out a lot, average low. Then we've seen him get red hot. His average is high, not striking out as much. So he can just kind of even that out. He could really be a big piece in the middle of their lineup.
Sure.
Tim Anderson. I mean, what are you going to say about him? Flash and dash. High average, home runs, a leader. Everyone respects him on that team.
Yeah.
And him having that conversation with La Russa and he's 100% behind him, that's huge. That might just put them right division, playoffs, deep in the playoffs, just having that chemistry. Then you got a guy like Eloy Jimenez, not a great fielder, but he can really mash the ball. Big goofball in the outfield, but he can mash the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, he can really hit. Luis Roberts, fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
He's fantastic. Yeah. Wait till he starts hitting. Because the guy can cover the whole field by himself.
That's for sure.
If he starts hitting, oh my God, I'm telling you, he could be as good as Mike Trout. He could be that good because defensively he's probably better than Trout.
At this
and
point,
Trout's a good defender.
Yeah,
but he's just so goddamn good. He's just fast, probably the fastest guy in the league, one of the fastest guys. If his offense can get up, I don't know if he'll be quite as offensively as good as Trout is, but if he can get his offense close to that, his defense is so good. He could be close to Trout. I shouldn't say just as good because offensively I don't think he'll ever be as good as Trout offensively.
Yeah.
Defensively he's better. Speed-wise he's better. I think base running he's probably even a little bit better. Offensively, if he can just get close, you can have a conversation. That's how good this guy is.
Yeah.
And then you got a guy like him and Madrigal. How much speed you're going to have? And Tim Anderson could run. Moncada could run a little bit. They have super speed. Adam Eaton can still move a little bit. So you didn't even get into that. You got Adam Engel who could run a little bit defensively. Adam Eaton I just mentioned. Jose Abreu, MVP, RBI, 130 RBIs every year. No one seems to talk about 280. 120 RBIs, 30 home runs every year. Defensively okay at first base. You want DH him? Go ahead. I think this team's got a lot of talent, a lot of young talent. They could play the postseason ball too. They could pitch. They could match up in the bullpen. They could throw hard, which is a big thing now. They have 4 or 5 man rotation that can go deep. Some of them can go into the bullpen if you need to. They can run the bases. They can play defense. They could do everything you need in the postseason, and they can hit the home run. And they got a coach who's going to know how to do it all. They're really, really good, and they're going to be really, really special. I think this is a team right here. Don't be surprised to see them sign a guy like Nick Markakis here shortly. A veteran, an outfielder. Oh, maybe Adam Engel. Maybe. Now you got Markakis out there. Because Eloy Jimenez is probably going to DH. Abreu will play first. Luis Roberts in center field. Adam Eaton's in right field. Who's in left field? Adam Engel? Or let's say Eloy Jimenez puts in you want a DH. You could do that, but maybe you get a guy like Markakis, who's just a leader.
Yeah.
Been there, done that. Look what you did with the Braves. Maybe you bring him in. That's a guy you could see him maybe get.
Yeah, and he would work on that team too.
Oh, yeah. He would fit right in.
Yeah, work under La Russa. Oh, man.
Yeah. I'm not going to get into too much. Another team, the A's. His price drops, A's get him, boom. He'll bat 300, but that's another story. But that's a guy you can see the White Sox go get. Or, let's bring in Cole Hamels. Why not? He's just sitting there. Let's bring in David Robertson. He's been here before. Hell, they can go make another little bit move here, like a low risk, high reward move.
Sure.
So they got super talent. They got a smart guy running the helm over there. They're ready to go. And prospects wise, they're still got prospects. First baseman Andrew Vaughn, top.
Yeah.
He's a high prospect. Then you got Michael Kopeck. He throws 110 miles per hour. Madrigal is a top prospect. Then you got another pitcher, Garrett Crochet. They have a great farm system. And then you just had guys like Luis Robert come out, Eloy Jimenez come up, Tim Anderson recently, Juan Moncada come up. You had Carlos Rodon come through, Giolito come through, Aaron Bummer. You had a lot of your prospects, the guys you already had that were top guys, just came through. Now you got more guys behind it. They have a great farm system, a great team, a great coach, and they still have money to spend where they can go sign a couple low-end free agents. They can go make a move at the deadline. Here's a prospect, another okay prospect, and then a throw-in guy, and let me go get, a top pitcher. Let me go get a top bullpen guy. Maybe let me go get a big outfielder. They can go make a move. They can go get, let's say one of the pitchers comes free on a team that's a good team, and he's like, let's say the Nationals blow it up.
Yeah.
They go get Scherzer or Corbin. Maybe a team like that where something like that happens, or maybe I can't think right now, but there's teams out there who maybe they'll get rid of some pitchers and they go get a starting pitcher. Maybe they go get a relief pitcher. One of these teams are like, hey, we're not going anywhere. Let's trade this guy away. boom, here's a prospect. Give us a start. Give us a relief pitcher. It's going to help the back end of the rotation or the back end of the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, let's go get an outfielder. Let's go trade for somebody. They're prepared to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to be really good with a chance to be, I think, win a division, 90 plus wins, 95 wins, 100 wins. They're going to be in the bullpen. They're going to be in the playoffs somewhere. The worst case of wild card, I think they're winning division, and I think you could pretty much, get your pencil out and start writing them into the AL championship game at least. I think, but you never know. Like I said, there's still some question marks, but I think you can at least. They're going to be there right at the end of the AL championship game at least, and they can win the World Series this year. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, maybe I had them a year early.
Yeah, and having playoff experience last year was great for them.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
so they're going to be primed and ready to go. Mm-hmm. This team's going to be really, really strong and really, really hard to beat for quite some time.
Yeah, they're exciting for sure. I think that they could be, if the Yankees have kind of a typical year like they've had the last few years with the injuries and stuff, the White Sox could be that AL pennant team. Like you said, is it the provenness of their young guys? Could that be an issue? I don't know. We'll have to see once they get to the playoffs. Is a completely different beast. So we'll have to see once we get there. Then you never know what happens in the West. That's still kind of up in the air. A lot of teams out there. So I just think, though, that this team is very complete defensively, pitching, hitting. I think they got a lot speed. I mean, they got a lot going for them.
Yep, they could play regular season ball. They could play playoff ball. And their division's not bad. So they're going to be playing some playoff teams here. The Indians are, if they're playing like how you kind of look at them on paper, they'll be around 500, which is not a bad team. Twins are a playoff team. So you're kind of playing playoff team all year, which is good. Then the AL, the AL West has got some playoff teams. The AL East got some playoff teams. So they're going to be facing playoff teams, which is good too.
Yeah.
Not like, they're going to be, their division's all terrible, and they're just going to beat up the snot out and not going to get used to playing these good teams. They're going to see some of these good teams, which is good.
Yeah, this team has been exciting for me, and it just seems to get better as they get a little more seasoned in the league, and as these players play better and gel better, and with La Russa at the helm, oh man, it's going to be fun to watch. From an outsider looking in, that's not a fan of a team in the division or a fan of the team. So for me personally, I'm very excited to watch this team play and compete in hopefully the playoffs. I don't see a scenario where they wouldn't be. But yeah, that's kind of I think that they have the most talent in the division. I think that's hard to argue. I don't know why these projectors have them like in the middle of the pack. I don't know why.
This is a big clapback to the Cubs a couple years ago.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they stole Chicago. Chicago was up for grabs. Cubs came in and stole it. And the White Sox came right back. We're like, here we go.
Yeah.
Now it's ours. And the Cubs are going right down the tubes.
Yeah.
The White Sox came right in. They're going to steal it. And I think they're going to be around for a while compared to the Cubs.
Yeah, the Cubs are, I know there's still
4 years? Really? Was their run?
Yeah.
Cubs maybe 4 years. Like White Sox have a chance 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Oh, yeah.
And the White Sox don't mind giving up money, paying money.
No.
Because they'll pay free agency and stuff. That's kind of what they did with the other team when they kind of decided to finally get rid of Chris Sale and stuff. Hell, I wouldn't surprised they traded and got Chris Sale back.
Could you imagine?
I don't think he'll cut up the jersey this time.
No.
But, they're primed to make a move like that. They're primed to go get a big player.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, who knows what happens at the deadline? Baseball's a long season, so who knows who they can get? Because I would assume they'd be buyers at the deadline. So who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
I think they can get somebody. They can get somebody.
I mean,
I'm not sure, but they can go get someone big.
Yeah.
Like they can go get Yelich. That's how big their prospects are. We'll take Yelich down. That's fine.
Yeah. Could you imagine having Luis Robert and Christian Yelich out there in the outfield?
I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but they can get a player like that good.
No, I know. Yeah.
Because they have top prospects everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah, they're definitely good, and that's why I think that they're the best team in the Central, and I've kind of figured we both agree on that. So that is at least my impressions of the AL Central. I don't know if you want to just wrap up with if you got anything with that.
No, that's pretty much it. They got two good teams, and they got another team who's got a little bit of talent who's probably going to float around 500. Then they got two young teams who, with some of their potential, some of their talent, they call some of these guys up. They can at least throw a wrench in things. But they're not really going to, compete right now. But they can at least, battle.
Yeah.
So it should be, it's kind of your stereotypical division. Two bottom dwellers who are looking up. One team just fluttering around. And then you got two really good teams.
Yeah.
So it's your stereotypical division.
Yeah.
But exciting. A lot of young players, a lot of exciting players. and a team who could really make some trades and really affect the whole league. So it's
Sure.
a really exciting division to kind of pay attention to this year.
Yeah, I agree. This was one I was looking forward to. So, all right, well, that's the Central, and next week obviously will be the West. We'll conclude the American League, which is a division I really even have to think about because there's some question marks out in that division right now. Some teams I like, some teams I don't like, but I'll try to keep it as objective as I can, at least with predictions. So yeah, that's all I got for these teams and for next week and stuff. So if you want to get into your trivia question, unless you got some news you want to update us on, I don't even know what's really been the major news. Obviously, pitchers and catchers reported, which is awesome.
Spring training started. We got games this weekend? Spring training game?
I think so.
Or starting early next week.
Should be, yeah.
The Mariners president, CEO had their issue. He resigned. He said some crazy stuff. I'm not going to go into that, but look that up. The dead end of the baseball a little bit, and really baseball starting on time. Toronto's starting their season in Florida for the first 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
But they do expect to be back in Toronto, which is good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, though, there's been some other signings we're not really going to go into right now. But that's pretty much it on the news front.
There's not much I could think of.
Yeah. So, but to get into it, our trivia question this week is, who was the first MLB Rookie of the Year? And if you want, you guess the year too. But the first Rookie of the Year in MLB history was in 1947 with Jackie Robinson. And it was, at the time, 1947 and 1948, there was only one winner. It was just a whole league, not like a AL/NL. So it was only a whole league. So Jackie Robinson was the inaugural winner of that, and he was the only one in 47. And then 48, obviously, it was only one guy. And then 49, that's where it's split into two divisions, or the two leagues.
I actually didn't even know that. I thought there was always two Rookie of the Leagues, two Rookie of the Years in each league.
Yeah, you would think that's maybe an award that maybe you would see later on.
Yeah.
In the 60s, because you would think you've seen other awards. You'd think, the MVP they didn't really have figured out then. They were just starting to give MVPs to multiple people at that time, and the Cy Young was, there was a lot of awards. You go, so you think Rookie of the Years, that kind of seems like one maybe they did a little later on. But to see it in the 40s, for some people, I think it's definitely going to surprise some people.
Yeah, it's like basically after World War II is when you start thinking about the Rookie of the Year guys. But yeah, the only reason I kind of knew that it was that old was because I knew Jackie had won it. I just didn't know he was the first. So that's where I kind of based my guess off of it, and I just happened to be right. I originally guessed that it was, because I was like, what decade did it happen? And I was like, was it the 30s? You're like, no. So I even thought it was earlier. I don't know why I would have thought that award, even though you would think it'd be later, would be like one of the original awards. You know what I mean? That's kind of where my mind was. Just based on...
Yeah, like I said, it makes sense, but you would just think
it wasn't their first on there.
Like the RBI stat wasn't even like a first thing for them.
Yeah.
If you think Rookie of the Year stuff, they're not going to be thinking of that.
Yeah, it wasn't on top of the docket. It wasn't like the first thing they were thinking of.
Yeah, so you just thought, I think a lot of people think, maybe 50s, 60s. But, see it like in the mid-40s is a little surprising for some people. But, yeah, so, again, first Rookie of the Year in MLB history was 1947 with Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's definitely a good trivia question. It's pretty... I would think it's at least guessable because it's Jackie. You're at least maybe going to come across saying Jackie Robinson at some point in your mind. But at least it's not like...
Not a crazy one we've given.
Yeah, it's not like Ray Schalk.
No, here we go.
Every episode. No.
Yeah. Ray Schalk.
All right, well, I guess that wraps it up for this episode. Like I said, I don't really have anything else. Next week we'll come with the AL West and wrap up the American League. But other than that, there's no big updates in baseball. We're going to get games going here soon, and once that starts happening, we'll get maybe even a better impression of the way these teams are looking.
We are going to have fans and capacity this year. It's going to be left up to the teams and cities, but there's going to be fans. Some cities might be 10-15% to start off. Some cities it might be 40-50% just to start off.
Mm-hmm.
But I think once the summer kind of rolls in, late spring into the summer, I think you're going to see at least 50% capacity in a lot of these stadiums. So that's going to be exciting. Yeah,
which will be nice because these stadiums are pretty damn big, so you can space people out pretty well at 50%, I think.
Well, yeah, I think once summer comes around, I think you might even be more than that. I think it might kind of wrap back up into some sort of normal shape.
Yeah, hopefully.
So it's exciting. I think it's the most anticipated and exciting one this year, but season for MLB and a lot of sports. Yeah, sure. You get to step back into some normalcy to some degree. And go to a game, hopefully. and we were already talking about trips for what we could do. So we're excited to get out and see baseball and actually get out and watch it.
Yeah, sure. All right, well, that's, like I said, that's all I got. So unless you got anything final you want to...
Nope, that's it.
Alrighty. Well, thank you guys for listening. You can catch this podcast on Google Podcasts as well as Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen to this podcast on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike Lepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod, and you can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod, no E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep, take care.